Good morning. Today I want to talk about meta states. Now, this is a word that we use in neurosemantics and especially NLP a lot. You might have heard the word meta states in self-development books, self-development or almost sermons, workshops and things like that. But I'm going to explain to you today what that really is and what it is supposed to be, if you ever hear this term again, and how powerful that can be for athletes and coaches, because coaches can teach this to their athletes as well. It's powerful, especially for children at school. It's an easy thing. It's an extremely simple thing that you can tap into. And it comes off the back of the 4 episodes that I did that was about our senses, our 5 senses, how we use our 5 senses to process information and store information in our brain, and how we relate to the world out there. Right. So first of all, I want to make the distinction between what we would call a primary state, a primary state and a meta state first for you in order to understand how it works and then how to apply it. A state is a way of feeling. So when you sometimes speak to people, it certainly has happened with me when I speak to somebody, and you can immediately see that they just got extremely angry. Let's say the child comes in and bothers them, and you can see on their face that they are distraught, they are extremely angry. That's a change of state. So they were in state A and now they're suddenly in state B. So it's just a way of feeling. You can have a thought. Remember now, just there needs to be emotion with it, because you can have a thought and no emotional feeling attached to it. And that's just thought, a random thought. But it's important to recognize that there are emotions attached to that, and there are feelings, like how you feel inside, attached to that. So that feeling we refer to as a specific state. It is a mind, body, emotion state. All right, because everything is involved, and your body is also involved. And you can that's things like a state of anger, a state of panic. But I mean, when I mention these things, you will recognize that even in your own life. The difference between a primary state and a meta state. A primary state is when we respond to things outside of the world. So you drive in the traffic, a taxi cuts you off, you get extremely angry immediately. That is a primary state. It's a response to things from the outside world and things that's happening around us. It's everyday states we experience, like sadness, anger, right? Something often we would hear people say, well, even I would ask sometimes clients, what has triggered you? What exactly outside of you has triggered you? To feel that way, and that's the primary state. Meta states, on the other hand, is an internal state we have based on our internal experience. So in other words, it is how you respond to that primary state. That is what the meta state is. We all do that every single day. It's that little voice that tells you, oh, I'm really angry because I got frustrated. Frustration, you got frustrated because of something that happened around you. And now you're angry at yourself because you got frustrated and you promised yourself. So let's use the taxi as an example again. You drive in traffic, taxi cuts you off, you get angry immediately. Right after that, you get disappointed and angry at yourself, because other way around, frustrated at yourself because you got angry, and you promised yourself this morning when you got out of bed is, I will not lose my temper in traffic again. So it's that little voice that keeps on telling you, but you must feel this because something made you feel like this. All right. So and I'm sure you can all recognize that. And that is what we call a meta state. Meta, the word meta, has been in the news recently, obviously with the whole new metaverse. But the word meta has been in the library, in the vocabulary for many, many years. You get a meta level, you get meta tactics, you get meta moves in strategies, you get metabolic, metamorphic. And meta comes from the Greek prefix, which means after or beyond. And when it's combined with the words in English, it signifies change or alteration. So something will change, something will look different after you've applied the meta. whatever that might mean, meta something. The Bible also talks about this, right, in the terms of meditation. And I'm going to explain to you how you apply this meta state, and then this will actually make much more sense to you as well. If we look at the Psalm 104, verse 34, 104, verse 34, let my meditation be pleasing to him, which God, as for me, I shall be glad in the Lord. My favorite one, Philippians 4, verse 8, and there are other verses as well. I just picked these two. Finally, brethren, whatever is true, whatever is honorable, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is of good repute, if there's any excellence and if anything worthy of praise, dwell on these things. And the word dwell means to think about it for a long time. All right. So this is nothing other than reflecting back to the thoughts that you have. You think about your thoughts, you feel your thoughts, you think about your feelings, you feel your feelings. And human beings is the only species that have the capability of doing this, right? I mean, animals cannot reflect on their thoughts and their emotions. Imagine if they could do that, if somebody was teasing a dog and suddenly the dog decides to reflect on their reaction and now charge the person. The world would be a crazy place, right? But as we reflect back to these feelings and responses that we get to things that's happening outside of us, we get a particular response. And that's where the meta state is extremely powerful. It is extremely powerful. This second, and we often talk about the second experience, and it's not something airy-fairy, it's just this meta emotion, meta state that you have. And I'm going to explain to you how to bring that into a situation. But that experience is key to who you are and what your experience is of the world. So let me give you an example of that. Let's say, for example, I went to the gym. I haven't yet. I'm going to train a little bit later this afternoon, but I am, let's use an example like last night. I was at martial arts. There are certain things as an adult, because I only started it a year ago. It is hard for me to, and for any adult coming into a new sport, it's hard for me to do certain things. So then, for example, I did get frustrated in terms of struggling with a particular skill. Now I get angry at myself because I told myself in the beginning of the year, this is just a learning experience, embrace the learning experience. You know, the whole thing we always tell ourselves. And now I feel angry and disappointed at myself because I got frustrated in class. All right, that's one example. So you see the meta state is the frustration. Oh, sorry, the other way around. The meta state is the anger that I experience with myself because I got frustrated. Frustration is the primary state. All right, so that's example number one. The opposite of that is I go to martial arts class, I get frustrated because I struggle with a particular skill and a particular movement. If I bring a state of curiosity to that, as opposed to a state of anger, now I bring a meta state of curiosity to that situation. Now I become curious about why do I get frustrated? And now I can continue to learn. Whereas in the first example, you are almost 100% guaranteed that that learning process will stop there immediately because of those emotions and feelings that you have. So this is extremely powerful for an athlete. And you can imagine an athlete that goes to training doesn't hit their times, or an athlete in some instances, they don't hit their weights, right? So this is something that it's very simple, but extremely effective and very easy to use. So you can really design custom design states. The whole thing about this secondary state or this meta state that you can apply to a primary state, it completely enriches the experience. It can transform the experience completely, or it can amplify the experience also completely, especially if you already have a positive experience. The interesting thing about the meta states is whatever goes on top of the primary state will organize and governs everything that lies underneath that. Always, 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 always. So if you are angry and you bring an additional meta state of frustration to that anger, it's just going to start to boil over, right? And it's just going to amplify that whole state of being angry and frustrated and whatever. And there will be other things that you can start to put on top of that. Maybe even later on self-blame and things like that. But if you bring a state of peace or you bring a state of curiosity to that anger, I'm going to say angerness, to that anger, it completely transforms your experience that you initially had from the outside event, the reaction to the outside event. Okay, so how do you practically use that? Remember, we want the meta state on top of the primary state. We can bring a meta state into a primary state anytime we want to. It takes practice. Later on, you would be able to just quickly flip into that particular state. So how to start off with this is you need to find a state that you want to put on top of something that's, let's call it a negative state, like frustration, sadness, feeling down, whatever the case might be. So you want to find a state like, and it's different for different people, right? Even you want to find a state of peace, you might want to find a state of acceptance. The state of acceptance is one that's easy for people to understand and to grasp. You might want to have a state of, what were the other examples that I had? I'm looking here. Anything that makes you feel good. If you do not know what states you might have experienced previously, or what states you want to bring to a situation, feel free. I'm more than happy to help you find those states that's familiar to you and that you can easily use. It's maybe about 30 minutes. We will be busy and I can help you find that. I'll do it completely for free. I'll leave a link in the description below where you can contact me for that. Just know it's extremely useful. Even if you are a coach, I can take you through the process and you can help your athletes with it further on as well. So you want to sit, let's say for 2 minutes, let's pick acceptance. That's a fairly easy state for people to, like I said, to understand. And you want to really remember, you can close your eyes, nothing weird about it, but close your eyes and you want to really go back to a previous experience when you felt that acceptance, where you were accepted like exactly the way you would want to be accepted. And you would know, you have peace with that particular state, right? You would know what that would feel like for you. So think about a situation that you've been in where you were completely accepted. There were no preconceived ideas, no other judgments, whatever the case might be. And again, what that state of acceptance feel like for you will be completely different for another person. That doesn't matter. There's not a right and a wrong here. There's not a dictionary, and this is important to understand. There's not a dictionary definition of what acceptance should mean and supposed to mean, and how you should, and forget all about that stuff. So you want to sit with that feeling, feel it in your body, and remember where it was, what you were doing. Remember how you felt in that situation. Remember if there were people that were speaking to you, or whether you've heard any voices, sounds, and you want to focus on those three. What did you see? What did you hear? And what did you feel inside? And even maybe outside the wind was blowing, you felt something on your skin as well. It doesn't matter. So now that you recognize that feeling and how that feeling feels, now you know what that is for you, right? And whenever you feel angry again, let's say you are at training and you feel frustrated, let's use it the right way around. Frustrated because you are not hitting your numbers, or you're not doing your intervals at the pace that you set out for the day, just for a minute, bring that state of acceptance into that situation. In other words, that feeling that you feel when you feel complete acceptance, bring that into that current situation. And you will see how that will change things for you instantly. I promise you. If it doesn't, I'll give you a free 1-hour coaching session. You will, I kid you not, it will instantly change things for you, because remember, the second state, the meta state that you put on top of the primary state, will change things for you completely. Now you can stack other meta states on top of that. So you can stack the meta state of peace on top of the meta state of acceptance, and you can amplify it even more. And I also want you to know that do not confuse this with this saying out there that you should accept your anger. So there's a lot of people walking around and say, oh, just accept your frustration, just accept your anger. No, I am one of those individuals, given knowing what I know, what's going on in our brain and with the words we speak and how we process information, an element of acceptance means you're not going to get rid of it in your life, right? You invite it in, you open the front door, you invite it in. You're not going to be able to get rid of that. Doesn't matter how much you accept it. All right. What I've explained to you is essentially what I guess what people mean out there when they say accepting it, but the person hearing it doesn't understand what it means. You want to recognize the emotion and the feeling. You can acknowledge the emotion and the feeling, but then you want to change it, right? You don't want to accept it and sit with it. So make sure that you clearly understand the big difference between when all of the, not all, but many people out there would say, oh, just accept it, just accept your sadness and sit with it. And I've even said it sometimes to clients, but what you really want to do is acknowledge it, because only if you recognize and acknowledge it, you know, okay, gosh, I can bring a meta state to this, and I can change how I feel completely, and I can change my response to the reaction completely. All right. So I hope that is, I hope that is helpful. If you have any questions about it, please let me know. Like I said, fairly simple and easy thing to do. And I will leave a link to the previous video. It will be in your right-hand side as you look at the screen, to our previous video, and I probably will stay a little bit longer on the meta states and walk for a few videos through the meta states so that people can really understand it and how they can apply it, and then even how they can connect. I was thinking this morning when I was doing Bible study, it's also so powerful for you when you spend time in the Word of God as to how you can use this. And if you look at the meta states that's in the Bible that God has given you, that's available to you. Now you understand, okay, gosh, okay, that's how I should apply it in my day-to-day life. All right, but anyway, stay safe. Yeah, make sure, athletes, I want to say this. I was on a meeting from SASCOC on Saturday. I want to make sure that you guys are fine. I want to ask you, are you fine? If you're not fine, please send me a message. There's a lot of athletes, especially over the course of the past 2 years, that had to deal with a lot of things, even the coaches as well. I know I've spoken to some sports coaches. It's been a tough time for them because they had to rally, keep on keeping their team members or their teams motivated, keeping the athletes motivated, while the athletes were like, okay, what am I training for? They might or might not be in Olympic Games. We don't know that. So that was a lot for a lot of athletes to deal with. So yeah, I'm asking the question, are you okay? If you're not, please send me an email and we can have a chat. We can just have a coffee virtually if you're not in Bloemfontein. If you're in Bloemfontein, more than happy to hook up with you and have a coffee with you. So enjoy the rest of your week, and I'll see you somewhere in the week again. Bye.